Okie dokie. Hello, you're watching the Out and Away podcast. I'm here with Daniel Erickson at Eurogamer. I've come with a few questions from the World Away forum community. First of all, we had a question about guild names. Phase 2 went live recently, and we have 2 guilds of similar names. We tried to make them adversaries to one another, because one's on the Republic and one's on the Sith, and we're having problems doing that currently. Do you know if there's any reason why that might be?
You're going to have to talk to community tech support on that one. Definitely not. Shouldn't be a problem.
Would that Chris guy be able to answer that question, perhaps?
It's possible.
Or Stephen Reed?
Stephen Reed would probably know who could. Okay. But you might have just hit a glitch.
Fair enough. What specific plans do you have for launch day? I know you can't say anything about the release date just yet, but what's your kind of plan?
Nap, maybe a light lunch. I figure I'll probably roll into the office a little early and celebrate.
I was thinking, do you have any specifics in terms of how you're going to deal with the load?
One of the reasons that we're doing the people go, oh, that's great, I get to get in early, is we have a target for how many people we can get in per day, and we're aggressively testing those targets, which is why we're doing the early rolling start.
Okay.
There is also, and we sort of hinted at it, we're not trying to, people are like, they're going to try to, like, we're not being mean when we're saying we're only going to sell so many copies. We know what the servers can take. We know how many servers we're going to have going at that time. We know how many we can get in per day. So we're going to take all the units we can actually sell before launch.
Yep.
And then when we've hit that limit, we're going to stop. You won't be able to get it. And then we're going to take those people and parse them up over the pre-start time, and we're going to roll people in. Okay. And hopefully everything will go swimmingly.
So on launch day, you're going to be selling Star Wars: The Old Republic in the shops.
Maybe,
right?
Maybe not. If we've sold all of the copies, if we've pre-sold everything, then it may be possible that they do. But as far as I know the plan right now, if they pre-sell it all, there won't be anything in the stores that day.
Fair enough. A lot of our guildmates are really interested in role-playing. We have like an audio...
In MMOs or just in general?
Well, maybe in general. We're all calling each other by our forum names today, which is kind of weird. But I was interested if you have any role-playing functions specifically into or beyond the kind of story aspect and role-playing with NPCs. What about with other characters as well? Do you have anything beyond kind of spatial chat?
So we do things. Obviously, we've got the large suite of emotes, things like that. We've got a lot of gear that I remember when we first put in the armor list. Some of the guys who've not worked on MMOs before, their first question was, "Why is there a wedding dress in here?" Right? Like we have cosmetic gear, we have things. In fact, one of the things that we've done just recently is there is a system now where if you're super pushing it, you can get some of the cosmetic gear and actually mod it out to be workable gear. Okay. So if you want to be the guy in the operation in your wedding dress and you still want to be able to hold it, you can. It's just going to take some... people are going to look at you and go, okay, that guy's super hardcore.
That's really cool. What about possibly making your own modules? Is that something that might be on the wall of crazy?
What do you mean modules?
So for games like Neverwinter Nights, you're able to kind of create your own dungeons.
Yeah, we're not really set up in that sort of system, right? Everything is part of the whole story piece. Mm-hmm. So there's not really a place that'd be like, and now, especially because we couldn't even do, like, they've done mission editors and things like that for some games, but obviously our stuff is all voiceover, cinematic directed, so we'd have to have some pretty crazy tools for that one.
I know you get compared a lot to Star Wars Galaxies because I suppose in a way you're a successor to it, considering its impending doom this December. And that game entailed, later on in its process, ways you could create NPCs and have kind of shuttles flying in and NPCs maybe talking to you. Do you have anything like that planned at all?
I don't...
Dynamic events, you mean?
Yeah, kind of dynamic events that would kind of help RP.
Nothing like that on the board right now. I mean, we are a play like you were in the movies, not play like you're a guy who lives in the world. So a lot less emphasis on that side of it.
Speaking of this wall of crazy, which keeps kind of popping up in interviews, can you give any kind of examples of how many things are on this wall, and maybe an example of some of the more complex or maybe some of the more simple ideas that are on there?
Well, the one that was always, thrown out that people knew very early was because we were talking about like the guild capital ships.
Oh yes, of course.
And things like that. Definitely not going to rattle off because people are like, why don't you do that? It's pretty big because what it basically is everything. I mean, think how many ideas you guys had. We have them all as well. You've got a bunch of senior designers. It's everything anyone ever came up with and said, oh, that's great. We can't come anywhere near doing that right now. Goes up on the wall somewhere. Some of that stuff is out way, like there's like, some of it's on different milestones, and then some of it's in the someday.
Okay. Good. One of our guild members really wants to know more about crafting. Specifically, he wants to know details on crit rolls, itemization, and best in slot. I don't know what any of those things mean.
That's quite specific.
So I was wondering if there's anything you could say about crafting on those topics.
Anything I would say would probably not be the same as what he would experience when the game shipped.
Fair enough.
Right? The problem when people, they keep saying, oh, give us more specifics. Like, there is definitely some people who would like a giant spreadsheet that has all the numbers of the things, but all those numbers are constantly in flux.
Yes.
This is what testing is for. Right? So crafting has gone through some serious overhauls, and many of them, and is not going to look in the final day like it does today. So.
Okay, so you had mentioned before about these cosmetic items. Which crafting profession would be making those? Would it be armor, mech, or...?
We try to spread any of the stuff, whether it's in-game gear or cosmetic stuff or moddable stuff. We always try to spread it through the crafting system. We don't ever want you to decide that you picked the wrong one.
Right, okay. That's interesting. So, say the Blast Tech could be making like quite ornate looking blasters that
well, yeah, you might have, if there is the whole formal outfit, right? Somebody's making the shoes and somebody's making
what are you doing to promote guilds in game? Obviously you've gone through these two phases and you've set the system up via the website. But once the guilds are actually in game, how are you going to be supporting them? What features are they going to have?
I don't actually know what the final guild suite looks like because I know there's been a lot of plans for all of the major things that you would be expecting, guild banks and ranking systems and all that, but a lot of that is coming post-launch.
Right.
A lot of getting pushed back for real basic functionality. So guilds will be in, you'll be able to promote, you'll be able to pull people in, but we're still pushing, so we don't want to promise exactly which features are going to come in free and which are going to come out very quickly post-launch.
Okay. Can we set up our own chat rooms, and can they be cross-faction?
Not yet, and probably never.
Okay. Right.
In that order. Cross-faction chat, if it does survive, which is really about how the community comes across and whether it becomes a customer service nightmare, will stay as a /say right in your face talk, and that's all.
Okay. So, say you had two opposite factions and you wanted to set up, say, a game of football or some other PvP. How would you go about that?
Probably through, guild sites or web or something like that. We're trying to get, there's just too much griefing possibilities when you give everybody when you send everybody across the border, right?
Okay. So you couldn't say send a tell to someone of the other faction? Okay. What's that?
We have vents. Yes.
Vent. Yeah.